It is a beautiful day to get our shit together for 2026. This video is from one type A overplanner to another. Or maybe you're an aspiring overplanner. This is a safe space, okay? I have to warn you, when people in my life see me pull up my Notion planner, they think I'm certifiably insane, which perhaps I am. But this planner has literally everything. I do this because my brain is very chaotic. My mind is running a million miles a minute. I am extremely forgetful, so if I don't get my ideas, thoughts, goals, plans, to-dos out of my head, they are gone, okay? There's no chance I'm getting any of that done. So we find ourselves here, and my life planner has 12 individual pages and sections. I am so excited to share this template with you, give you a full in-depth tour, explain how everything works. Maybe you want to pull a few of these ideas to use in your own Notion, or if you'd like a copy of your own, this exact full template, I actually just went live with it in the Notion template marketplace. I do have a special discount code for the new year. It's YouTube 2026. So that will make the template only $10. If for any reason you don't end up loving the template or it's just not a good fit for you, in the first 2 weeks, you can request a full refund and actually return it through Notion, which is really cool. But let me tell you about it first. Let me show you around a little bit. We haven't even seen it yet. All right, coming to you live from the tiny bubble in the top of your screen, let's get into the tour. Starting with our little welcome section. So this is where you can kind of get to know your planner. There's instructions, there's FAQs, a brief explanation of everything that's included. There's also a recommended setup flow. So if you are downloading this template for the first time and you want a kind of step-by-step of how to customize it and how to get started, I wrote that all out. You will see these little gray instruction blocks, how-tos, tips, explanations throughout the template. Personally, I like to read those through and then delete them once I have figured out how everything works, just because it looks a lot cleaner without the instructions everywhere. Once you've downloaded this template, it is fully customizable. You can add anything that you want. So that's the cool thing about these templates, is they're very flexible and you can kind of think of this as a base. Okay, let me just run you through the home dashboard, the home page really quickly. In the left-hand column, we have all of your sub pages. I've separated these into 3 different categories. There's planners, trackers, and reflections. In the center column, we have a section called projects, and that is just a kind of overview of the projects you have right now in your project manager. Just because I find it really helpful to have that overview and that reminder of what I'm currently working on, and then you can also jump straight to that project from the homepage by clicking on them. Next, we have the habit tracker. I love habit tracking. Anytime I'm trying to build a new habit, if I don't track it, there's absolutely no way it's happening. I just always forget. For this particular habit tracker, I made a really fun button so that you can add all of your habits all at once with one click or one tap. Here's an example. So the tracker is just a little mini database that holds each of your habits, and this button is just an automation that adds all of those templates to the database at the same time, and it pre-fills today's date. I took the liberty of adding a bunch of example habits in there just so you can have a starting point, so you can actually edit these and customize them to whatever your habits are. We have 2 views for this one. There's today, which filters of course to today's habits, and then all time, which is really nice to see how consistent you've been with a particular habit. And then of course you can check your habits once they're complete, and I just love that they're right there for you on the home page in your dashboard. It makes it a lot easier to remember to get those things done. If the button is confusing, you're totally welcome to just add the habits manually. I just love Notion automations. And then of course we have our weather widget, which I just set to Los Angeles, but it is of course customizable if you'd like to change the location. Moving on to the right-hand column, we have a cute little quote. Then we have our goals and plans section. I absolutely love this for keeping my goals top of mind and reminding myself what I'm focusing on, what I'm working on. These are all synced blocks that point straight to your reflection and planning pages for the week, month, and quarter. The cool thing about these is that they are two-way. So if you wanted to edit your goals from the homepage, you can do that. If you want to edit your goals from the sub pages, you can do that. And some little progress bars to see how far we are into the week, month, and quarter. Let's get right into the juicy part, okay? The daily plan template is my pride and joy. This is my most used template by a long shot. Spending 5 minutes every single morning making a daily plan has absolutely changed my life. So I like to do one daily plan per day that I'm working, and the daily plans are sub pages. So I've created a fun little button where you can just click right here and it will add a new daily plan template to this page. If you would like to edit this button or any of the buttons across the entire template, here's how you do it. There's a little gear icon that will show up on the right-hand side that you can click, and then you can see what is happening every time you click that button. So in this case, it's just adding a new daily plan template. So you can go ahead and click on that and edit it if you want to make any customizations to the template itself. And then once you click done, those changes will be saved. And then every time you click that button in the future, the changes will be reflected. I did include an archive section on the right-hand side, and at the end of the month, I will drag all of my daily plans over there just to keep it a little bit less cluttered. I did leave you a daily plan example just to see kind of how I fill it out, but let's walk through the page really quickly and what makes this so effective for me. On the left-hand side, I really love adding a vision board, and there are instructions in the welcome section if you want to swap in your own Pinterest board instead of having mine. I promise it won't hurt my feelings. First thing I do when I open this plan, I will go to the top 3 and choose my top 3 goals for the day. 3 things that need to get done, and if those things got done, today would be a success. I have tried many ways of doing this, and personally, when the list is any longer than 3, it's unlikely that they're all gonna get done. So I really do try to cap it at 3, and I have strategically named the section underneath it extras, and this is where I put all of my extra to-dos, things that would be nice to have but aren't essential. From there, I will do my schedule, and I love this to-do table. I actually saw the idea from Grace Beverly a few years ago, and essentially I will just time block out my day, and I like to keep it really general. So I do have blocks for every hour, but I don't personally use them all. I just like that as a starting point, and then I delete the ones that aren't relevant depending on what I'm doing that day, what my schedule is like. This is where the to-do list connects with an actual action plan, and I just find it so much more effective than having just a list. And then down below, I just have a notebook where I jot down any ideas, brain dumps, whatever things that are going on, just to get them out of my mind and onto paper, or I guess not paper, computer. Next up is the weekly plan. I usually prefer to do this on like Sunday or Monday, and I feel like it helps me stay organized with my schedule, what's coming up that week, and what I really want to prioritize and work on. So we have another fun button where you can click it and add a new weekly plan template. And then within the template, I just like to start with a brain dump, whatever's going on, and then I will go through and write any important appointments, to-do list items, whatever, my kind of plan and structure for each day of the week. And then I will set my top 3 goals for the week, and then I will type them out in that block at the very top of the page that says this week. I only put 3 in there because if we're being honest with ourselves, probably only 3 big things are gonna get done within the week. It obviously depends on how complex they are, but so this is actually called a synced block. And what this will do is when you fill it out, it will automatically sync the goals you wrote in here to the homepage as well, because I find it really helpful to see your goals in multiple places, just to be aware of them, reminded of them. I feel like that's half the battle when it comes to achieving our goals, is just keeping them top of mind. Next, we have my travel planner, which, I mean, this whole template is my baby, but the travel planner is really my baby. I cannot survive without a packing list, okay? I am extremely forgetful and I get very stressed before I travel. I need to have like a pre-filled essentials list, otherwise I will always forget something. I actually took the liberty of adding my own packing essentials list to this template. You can of course edit it or delete it if you're not into it, but I feel like it's a really nice general starting point to make sure you're not missing any of the basics. There are instructions about how to add a cover image for your trip, how to edit the trip template, and we have 3 different views of the trip database. The first is a trip gallery, so this is where you can see all of your trips at a glance, and it looks really nice, especially if you add a cover image. Then we have the trip database, which is just a table of all your upcoming trips. And lastly, the travel calendar, which shows you your month at a glance and the different trips that you have planned. For each trip, you can add the dates, the date and time for your flight there and your flight home. You can add hotel information, and it'll actually show the location of it. You can jot down any reservations, any notes that you have. And then there's also a little countdown, which will tell you how many days until departure. And then of course, there is a beautiful, gorgeous packing list that I legitimately couldn't live without. Next up, we have the weekly menu planner. If you haven't tried making a weekly menu, I highly recommend it. So we have a cute little button at the top that you can click to add a new weekly menu, and that'll just create a new card for you in the gallery. From there, you can fill out your plan for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and dessert, and then also create a grocery list. I also really love this because it has all of your historical data. So when I'm planning my menus, I often find myself sitting there and thinking, what am I gonna eat? Like, nothing sounds good. It's really nice to scroll back through your favorite recipes and see what you've made in the past. I also threw a healthy recipe Pinterest board up there because I feel like it's always nice to have some inspiration. Let's get into the tracker section, starting with the project manager. So this is really just a basic structure of a project manager that you can use for school, work, personal projects, whatever. I wanted to make this a really simple and effective starting point that can be customized from there. So depending on what you do for work or for school, whatever, I think it probably makes sense to add properties based on different things that you're interested in. Like for example, I've customized this to fit my content creation. So I have a kind of ideas video database where I have all the videos that are in progress. So I have checkboxes for whether the video is filmed, edited, whether it needs a thumbnail, a title, whatever, like the different steps in my process. And then there are a few different ways that you can view this database. So the first is by status, and this is just a board that shows you where different projects are across their status, of course. Then we have current projects, which is a table of projects that do not have the done column checked. And then they're also sorted by due date. We also have a calendar, so you can see what's kind of going on at a glance. I find that really helpful. And then all projects, which is a list of everything, whether it's done or still in progress. I left a couple examples in here just so you can see how things look with everything filled out. I really like using this % completed property to show how far along I am in the project. Then there's a checkbox that you can check once the project is done. There's a drop down where you can select whether the project is personal, work, or for school. There's of course a due date. And then I also have a priority section where you can choose low, medium, or high priority. Status, so whether that is to do, in progress, or done. there's a section for any notes, and then I've broken this main section down here into a to-do list with 3 separate phases. I find a lot of my projects I like to break down into phases rather than just kind of a brain dump, because depending on the project, especially if it's something bigger, that can be a little bit overwhelming. So for example, with my YouTube videos, I have like an ideation phase, a filming phase, and then like an editing, polishing phase. We are now heading into the finance tracker. Over the past year, I have fallen in love again with tracking my finances and my budgeting. I know there are about 1 million apps out there that you can use that'll do it automatically. I have tried so many of those apps, and first of all, I don't like giving them access to that data. It's just a personal preference. But second of all, I don't think they do a super great job at categorizing my stuff automatically, and I have to go in and make so many fixes. I'm like, why am I even doing this in the first place? Over the past year, I have been logging all of my finances, my budget myself, just using a spreadsheet, and I recently moved it to Notion, and I love it because there are some really cool charts and automatic kind of like groupings that it can do, and I'll show you in this template. So if you want to add a new expense, you just click new and then fill out the description of what it was, the date, the amount, the category, and of course, like anything in this template, you can edit the categories for whatever makes sense for you. And then you can fill in the credit card you used if that's relevant. That one's definitely optional, but sometimes for me, it's nice to see which cards I'm using or not using. When you add a new expense, automatically it fills in today's date just to save you a little bit of time, but you can also change that date, of course, if you are doing like historical data. We have 3 views for this database. The first is monthly expenses, so it's all the expenses from this month sorted by date. Then we have the monthly totals chart, and I am obsessed with this. It lets you see your monthly spending by category in a chart form. I find this to be humbling, and I find it to be very important for me to be aware of in terms of my budget and noticing when I'm overspending, or even just like spending in areas that aren't making a meaningful difference in my life, because that's really what I focus on with my budgets. And then of course an all expenses section where you can see all of your expenses across all time. I'm gonna sound like a broken record because I was about to say I love this page, but I've said that about every single page, I think. This is the cleaning tracker. This is one of the pages you might see and think I'm nuts, but that's okay. That's okay if you think I'm nuts, because I love it. The way I did this is that tasks are grouped by frequency, so how often you're gonna do them. So I split it into weekly, monthly, or quarterly tasks. And if you click on the row or the card, it'll open up a list of all of the individual tasks. And then whenever all of those are completed, you can check done. I've pre-filled all the tasks in this template with a mix of my own cleaning schedule, but also my dream cleaning schedule and the things I know I should be doing. But as always, you can fully customize these to fit your own needs, your home, your space, whatever. We have 2 views for this database. One is a gallery, and then there's also a table version with the same data. We have some fun buttons if you want to add a new month, week, or quarter just with one click or tap. Some people might see this and think it's insane to be planning at this level, but it's one of those things where I sat down for a little bit, I wrote out all the tasks and how frequently I want to do them, and now I don't have to constantly worry or think, when's the last time I've cleaned out the fridge, or I really need to vacuum this and that. Like, it's all just right there for me and I don't have to think about it, and that is so de-stressing for me. I created the book tracker because I noticed a trend where I was reading a lot and then immediately forgetting everything that I learned, all of my takeaways, my favorite quotes, my favorite pieces of advice from what I read. So I created this so that I could keep track of my learnings and actually apply them and create a kind of action plan after reading or listening to particularly self-help nonfiction type books. But I honestly use it for fiction as well, particularly if you have a reading goal or if you want to read more. That's definitely something that I'm focusing on in 2026. I think it's really fun to kind of gamify the reading and have a tracker of how much you've actually read. So we have an all books view, which shows you, of course, all of your books. I have them sorted by the date you completed the book. There's also a view by category, which shows books sorted into their respective category, and then a gallery view of what you've read this year. So for each book, you can fill out the title, the category, you can give it a star rating out of 5, mark the date that you completed it, write any notes that you have, and list out your action items. Moving on to reflections and starting with the journal. I know there's something so sexy about writing in a paper journal, but I will admit I've been loving a digital journal lately for a couple reasons. The first is that your entries are a lot more accessible. The second is that I can do them from anywhere, including my phone or whatever, if I just have a few minutes or something. And the third reason is that it just reduces the friction a lot when I have to like walk into the other room and find my journal and find a pen, whatever. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm too lazy, but I'm on my computer a lot. I'm on my phone a lot already. Now my journal is just right there in my Notion. For this database, you have 2 different views. The first is all entries, and this is just a list of all of your journal entries sorted with the most recent ones at the top. And then you have a cute little gallery view, which is also sorted for most recent ones at the top. For each entry, you just do a title and date. I really like doing highlights and trying to think of a few things I'm grateful for, things that went well during the day. I used to roll my eyes at that kind of stuff, but genuinely, it really does help. If you are finding yourself in a difficult time, as I have been lately, the past year, it is really helpful. And then I also have a mood tracker in there, which I think is fun. And then down here is the space that you can write the actual journal entry. Next up is the monthly reflection. And I'll be honest here, I come in and out on this one. I'm not always doing a monthly reflection. It is extremely helpful, but I just find if I'm really on it with my daily planning and my weekly planning, the monthly one can feel a little bit redundant. But if you're finding yourself really busy and you don't have time to get really granular with it, that's where I find the monthly one is really helpful. Just taking a few minutes every month to make sure that you're on track with your goals and to reflect a little bit about what's gone well and areas of improvement. Again, we have a fun button where you can add a new monthly reflection. And then for each month, I go through a few prompts. So first, starting with the reflection on the previous month, I like to just list out my achievements, my challenges, and my learnings. Then for the upcoming month, I will start with any schedule notes. So like appointments, travel, commitments, anything like that. And then write out my top 3 goals, of course. And we have another gorgeous, stunning, amazing synced block. So when you put your goals into this block, it will sync to the homepage as well. The final reflection is the quarterly reflection. And I know what you're thinking right now. Are you insane? How often do you need to reflect? It's a valid question, but I do find that every 3 months is about when I start to get a little bit antsy. I want to focus on something fresh. Maybe things haven't been going super well with my goals in the previous quarter and I'm itching to try and do something different. Maybe my priorities have shifted. Maybe something has happened that has prevented me from achieving my goals. You may notice I don't have an annual planning section anywhere in here. And the reason is, personally, I made the shift this year to not set any annual goals, to only set quarterly goals, because I just find that I rarely ever achieve my annual goals because it's so hard to know what will unfold throughout the year and how my perspective, what I'll want, is going to change throughout the year. It's also a lot harder to stay motivated on that long of a time horizon. And there's some really interesting research that shows when we shorten the time horizon on our goals and we break them into smaller steps rather than like one massive goal, it's a lot easier to achieve them and it's a lot easier to stay motivated. Again, we have a button that you can customize and update and edit if you would like. When you click that, it'll add a new reflection template for you. So first I'll list out the achievements and milestones from the past quarter, as well as obstacles and challenges, learnings. And I like to jot down what, if anything, kept me from achieving my goals in the past quarter. I usually learn a lot from answering this prompt, honestly. Then moving into planning for the upcoming quarter, I like to think about what I want to leave behind, what I want to continue, what I want to build, so new habits or new routines that I want to start. As always, I will go through my schedule and jot down any important dates, trips, whatever. Write out my top 3 goals. I'll get those up into the synced block at the top of the page, of course. And that's it. I think that should cover everything, but I'm sure I forgot something.
1 day later.
It's me from the future. And yes, I did forget something actually. It is widget customization. I wanted to show you really quickly how you can make your own widgets using Indify. When you download the template, I have it set with a clock and a weather widget set to the time and weather for Los Angeles, California, basically just as a placeholder. But obviously, if you don't live in LA, that's gonna be a bit of a problem. So here's how you can make your own widgets that still match the formatting and style of this template. First thing you'll need is a free account with Indify. Then you're gonna click Add New Widget. There are a lot of fun ones to choose from, but we'll just start with the clock one. After you title it, you can choose the type of clock. I personally like the analog smooth. I don't like seconds, so I turn those off, but I do like the seconds dial on the clock, so I turn that on. I also like adding the date text on there. I like a little bit of padding, maybe like 4 or 5. I did include the exact color codes in the template if you want to match the background color and the text color. Sorry, I do not have them memorized for filming this video, but they are in the template if you want to copy and paste them. Once you are happy with how the widget is looking, all you have to do is copy the embed link, go into Notion, type /embed, and then paste your link in there. And from there, you can kind of drag the corners and edges of the widget around to resize it until it fits your screen size. I'll also show you the weather widget if you want to copy the style I used in the template. So you're just going to choose your location, the units you want to see the weather in, the number of days. I personally went for 3 for the template. I chose to do grayscale icons just so that it looks a little bit cleaner. And then I turned off animation because I find it a little bit distracting when like rain is coming out of the clouds and stuff. And again, you can change the background color and text color to match the template, but you could also take things in a different direction. I mean, these are fully customizable. I just wanted to throw in some kind of example ones in the template. The template also has all the instructions that I just shared with you, but I thought it'd be nice to see a visual demo. Anyway, back to me from yesterday. That was a long one, okay? If you are still here, I'm impressed. I don't know how I'm still here. It's been like over an hour. If you have any questions that I didn't answer in this video or in the instructions on the template itself, leave a comment, let me know. I would be happy to chat. I also have a customer service email on my Notion Marketplace profile. If you purchase the template, you can reach out there with any questions, concerns. If you notice any bugs, oh my God, I hope not, but let me know, please. I hope everyone has had a wonderful new year. I am so excited to get our shit together in 2026, okay? Thank you so much for being here. I really hope the tour was helpful. I hope it gave you some inspiration, some ideas. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to subscribe. I upload new videos every week, and I will see you next time.